So Chase, how would you describe your role over the last couple weeks in comparison to your role when you first started here?
When I first got here, it was more just straight defensive end, just four down front, be on the line. And in the past couple, like 2, 3 weeks probably, it's been more just like roaming around off the ball, like 3 yards, hill of the lineman for real, just reading guards really. And that's really it so far.
Would you classify yourself as like a linebacker or stand-up D lineman?
I would probably say linebacker, outside linebacker type role, and just more so evolving into like the official linebacker spot.
Brian? Josh, Coach Brennan has mentioned a bunch of times about like the musical chairs on the offensive line and how it's led to maybe some unsettling. From your perspective, how much has that impacted things when there's different guys on either side of you, like depending on the game?
I think it's good for all these guys to be able to get reps in certain situations, and I think being able to build that trust and communication with all these new guys in maybe different spots is also like a really good and important thing for right now and for the future as well.
But as far as the actual game performance, do you think that in any way it is affecting things because maybe someone is used to playing on the left side and now they're on the right side and it, like in the moment it messes with stuff?
I don't know. We just got to execute what we're told and what we're taught.
Chase, within that new role of yours, do you have the freedom to kind of pick and choose where you're going to rush from? I assume that you're either dropping or rushing, and that's a call. But as far as like, how do you figure that out?
Most of the time it's just play call, just making a lineman in front of me right. So if they go outside, I'll probably fill it inside, just filling that open gap really, or just straight ahead, just really play call based.
When you look at the defense overall, the last 3-4 games, the pass rush hasn't been quite as effective as it was previously. Why do you think?
It's just really just we just got to keep repping the little details of it, whether that's get off to staying on sides, watching the ball, hands, feet, just different stuff like that. We just got to keep repping it, keep putting it in work in the practice environment.
You spent a lot of time doing that stuff this last week.
Oh, most definitely. Like we try to get some pass rush stuff in every day, whether it's after practice, during individual periods. So we big on that, just trying to find different ways to improve.
Josh, how would you best describe how the protection adjustments work for you guys offensively? You know, when you get to the line and you see what's in front of you and how you adjust to if, they're showing guys maybe potentially blitzing from the left or they're, how do you guys make those calls and try to make sure everybody's on the same page about who they need to be picking up?
Sure thing. Week to week, we have different adjustments and whatnot based off what we're getting, based off of the film from the past weeks and the entire season. Noah has built-in checks, and we have the very important role of communicating those checks, and we have a very important role of communicating what we're doing so that everyone's on the same page. Then we get everything blocked up.
What's your kind of role in that? Are you the leader for the line in that phase, or is that coming a lot mostly from Noah in the back?
My role is the communicator and making sure everyone knows what the play is and what the call is and where everyone's going. So that is my role itself.
Justin? In what ways do you think you need to improve the run game and make that an effective part of what you guys are doing?
I think we just need to execute and relate to Saturdays, and in this case Friday, what we're being taught and coached and rep every single day in practice, and we need to, as always, be more violent and more nasty.
And then how would you summarize how you guys are bringing along a guy like Michael Wooten during this process?
Doing well. I'm glad to see his process and him starting to become a better player and starting to see in practice how he's actually taking coaching points and really developing as a player. It's good to see that.
Ryan? Chase, Houston's got a very mobile quarterback, and early in the season there were a couple of those that gave the defense problems. What is the key to kind of keeping him contained and maybe turning him into just a pass-only guy?
Really just the details, just focusing on the coach's game plan they got for us and going out and executing it, because I feel like we have a good game plan going into it, so just executing the little small details every play.
When you guys, for both of you guys, when you watch the film of the UCF game, what did the line of scrimmage look like to you?
I would say defensive line of scrimmage, it was really just, the key was to just make them run sideways and not vertical, and I feel like We did a solid job of that up front. It was just details like making tackles, being in the right spot at the right time, just little stuff like that. I feel like we could improve on because we're getting a lot of push up front. We just got to now finish plays.
Their D-line, they were good. They were big and strong, and we just didn't do a well enough job of executing that day.
Sure. And then moving forward, how can both sides of the ball play with more physicality?
I feel like that's just something we got to focus on in practice for real. Because at the end of the day, like when we go good on good, especially, it's like we got to show each side of the ball just like physicality that we know we have, physicality we know we want to bring, and show it throughout the week so we can do that on Saturdays.
You said it right. You practice how you play.
David? Josh, for you, just in terms of the West Virginia game, games like that where you kind of struggle individually, how do you assess that? How do you self-assess yourself and try to be better the next time out?
Sure thing. I go back and I look at exactly, like specifically what I'm struggling with, and that week it really attacked that specific component, whatever that may be, and really just focus on attacking that and try to get that better, as long as everything else.
Chase, this new role, how comfortable are you right now in what they're asking you to do? Do you feel like you're still kind of trying to figure it out?
I feel like with the role they put me in, position to play, I feel like I'm comfortable with it. Just even though it's off the ball, it's something different than I've normally been doing. I feel like the coaches trust me to do that, and I don't want to let them down. So I just feel like right now, just got to keep playing and keep growing even more at that role, whatever it is.
For somebody that has their hand on the ground normally, is this kind of like, do you like kind of being able to kind of roam and be mobile?
I mean, I love it because even when I was DN, I was mostly just stand up most of the time, like hand the dirt sometimes. But I love it, just being able to roam, use my athleticism, speed, just off the ball, really showcase that.
So Josh, last time Arizona played Houston, your predecessor, Josh McCauley thumped Ed Oliver on the helmet. What did you learn from playing behind Josh?
I remember actually seeing that picture of him tapping him after he jumped offside. That was actually really cool you mentioned that. I learned plenty of things from Josh, and one of the things that he taught me that it just stuck out to me as far as like watching other centers as well is just his poise and his calmness and his ability to understand what he was getting, because he did a great job of watching and reviewing film that week, and it was just amazing to see what he could do.
And then this year, with so much change going on around you, you've been right there in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
What has this experience been like for you as a center?
It's been interesting. I'm doing my best to be the solid rock in the middle and just being the best communicator that I can be and being a guy that is dependable in times of chaos. Yep.
Last question to Michael.
Josh, you've been through some rough patches. A part of teams that have been through some rough patches here. 2020 obviously was weird and difficult. 2021 was the start of a rebuild. 1-11. How can you take those experiences and maybe help guide some of the guys through the rough patch that the team is going through now?
Sure, you can communicate what is going on, what you've been through, in order to help these guys understand that all we have to do is just keep swinging and keep coming to work every single day, doing what the coaches are telling us to do, so that it does relay to Saturdays, and in this case, Friday.
Sure. What's Brent Brennan's main message been to the guys over the last couple of weeks?
Keep swinging. It's going to break. Keep swinging.
All right, that's our time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
questions for Coach Oglesby or Coach Aquina. Start with Michael.
For Coach Oglesby, how would you describe what it's been like this season, just trying to patch things together with an offensive line that's been in flux a lot?
Interesting would be, I guess, the word to best describe it. But you know, through that, there has been some positives as far as you know, younger guys being able to get reps, such as you know, Alex Deuce, Michael Wooten. You know, Lotto's even been in there to get some of that game experience. So while it has been interesting with the shuffling and whatnot that's gone on, there has been some positives in that regard.
So as the run game coordinator as well, how do you, I guess, assess what you guys have been doing there over the last few weeks, and in what ways do you think that needs to improve?
Yeah, well, it definitely needs to improve. You know, one of the big things with offensive line play is just the continuity of, you know, understanding the guy next to you and all that stuff. And there's been, you know, as we stated, kind of some major shuffling that has had to go on. And you know, my responsibility is to find the things that puts us in the best opportunities to move the chains. And you know, I think you know, through this process, there's definitely been a sense of finding ourselves. And these last 2 weeks or week and a half or so, with the bye and where we are now, I think we've sort of found something that will help that situation.
And for a guy like Quali, I think Coach Brennan said when he was at San Jose State, he never fumbled, and then he fumbled the last 2 games. What's maybe your message to him moving forward?
Next play. You know, we can't dwell on negatives and allow things to get us twice, so to speak. You know, it's a next play mentality.
David?
Josh, this offense has really struggled first possession coming out of halftime. Why do you think that is?
That's a good question. You know, wish I knew the answer because we would definitely address it. You know, I think you know, our message to the guys has been starting fast coming out of the locker room, be it first drive of the game or first drive after halftime. And you know, it's one of the things that we've addressed in practice and as a staff, and it's one of the things that we're, you know, continuing to work to be better towards.
And Dwayne, they really attacked, UCF really attacked Emmanuel Carnley in that game a few weeks ago. What do you think he learned from that experience?
Just, it's an Irish coverage that we play. We're playing press man. There's well-thrown footballs. That's going to happen to you at times. You know, receiver ran through the catch, ball dropped in over the outside number. It's well-thrown football. Let's get back and play it again. Happened to Chris McAllister, Aaron Ross. It happens to the best corners out there. You just got to keep going when you're going to play press man. You know, we got to work together. Coverage and pressure work together. If we're going to call blitzes, we got to get home. It's all put together, you know, when you're playing defense. So there's no one man when you're starting to get to that, but it's well-thrown football.
Brian? Coach, the Houston's quarterback's probably the most mobile you faced since those first few weeks of the season. How much did the experience of those games, you think, better prepare just the defense in general for trying to contain a guy like that?
Yeah, I think we faced a couple quarterbacks with legs, and those are always, in my humble opinion, the toughest quarterbacks to defend. For that reason, you see Keith Smith and Ortiz Jenkins up there, because when I was on offense, that's when we went to recruit. Danny Waite started to change the philosophy of the offense, but legs. But the running game's a little bit different with what they use with them. So it's still, each week, you have to prepare, try to pull what you've done in the past, as you've heard me say before, so these recs can stack up, and yet be aware of their run game, their tendencies. Very patient offense. Third and 10 is no different than 1st and 10 with these guys, so we have to understand that too.
Michael?
What one for each, for Dwayne, when you looked at the film of UCF, specifically the line of scrimmage, what jumped out to you?
Yeah, I got to play more 4 down. I need to do a better job of preparing this football team because everything that's on that tape falls on my lap. And I know that that's coaches speak in a lot of ways, but I live this game. That's how I'm wired. So we can talk about Manny, we can talk about so-and-so, but the one that continues to have to make the right decisions falls on this chair right here. So we had a week to assess. I've never been in a game like that over 44 years of coaching. Not happy with it, so we get another chance to line up again this week.
And for Josh, a lot of the pressure has come off the edges. What are some of the adjustments you can make to mitigate that, or what are some of the techniques you can work on with the tackles to try to control that?
Yeah, so we've done, in my opinion, a good job addressing that over this past week and a half. Difference in set angles, different, I guess you can call them tricks in the O-line world. And then the biggest thing is just getting back to basics and having those guys focus on the key fundamentals that we displayed early in the year, and just getting back to basics and the fundamentals of what it takes to be successful on the edge.
David? And Josh, just to kind of follow on that, how do you think your line is adjusting to, when they have to go to the line and make changes to the protection, how that's taking place, kind of the instruments of that, and how they're identifying where potentially that pressure might be coming?
Yeah, so we have a great luxury in Josh Baker out there. He's played a lot of football. He's seen a lot of things, and because of that, it allows for sort of a higher level of coaching as far as seeing different rotations, seeing different things like that. And he really excels in those areas. There are, good coaches on both sides, right? So there are certain times that, based on the protection that we're in, we're working away from a pressure or things like that, and there are different techniques that we have to use to try to work back to it, and other things like that. So there's a little bit more to just seeing and identifying the pressure, as far as just making sure that we're working the correct way.
What's your philosophy when you have a veteran, like say a Josh or Jonah or Wendell, that doesn't play well? What's your philosophy on how to approach them about that? What you want them to get out of performances that, where you expect more from them, and maybe they didn't deliver that?
Yeah, I think anytime you have guys that have done the things that they've done up until this point, they understand that they haven't played well, obviously, as well as we do as coaches. So you have to walk a fine line of addressing the things that need to be addressed immediately, as well as not crushing them to the point where it's hard to get them back, if that makes sense. But there definitely been conversations about when those performances are not up to par or where they need to be for especially our standards, as well as their own standards for themselves. But they're, as Coach Aquina said, when those things happen, I look at myself first, and did I prepare them well enough for what they were going to see? When it's good, it's on them. When it's bad, it's on me.
Jason?
For Josh, how do you balance performance versus patience? Like with a guy with Luton who doesn't have a lot of snaps, might make some mistakes. Like how do you kind of balance, okay, they not be playing well right now, but stay patient, where it's kind of saying, okay, it's just not working?
Yeah, that's a good question. You can never put the team in a bad situation, if that makes sense. So while there is patience for young players and things like that, at some point you're not a young player anymore. While things may be new, right, as far as seeing different things that happen in game, there is a point where you have to perform because of the responsibility to the team. So there is a sense of patience, but there's also a sense of urgency at the same time.
Ryan?
Josh, is it fair to say that you guys pull more than the average team with the line?
I don't know if I would say that we pull more than the average team, but it is a key component to our offense.
What is the advantage or the benefit of doing that as opposed to just like the straightforward run blocking?
The movement of gaps, creating new gaps in different places to make the defense, have to work on different run fits as opposed to, hey, I have the A gap, well, all of a sudden the A gap's moved, if that makes sense.
And with the amount of shuffling that there's been on the line, do you think that there has been some issues with the pulling because guys were at one spot and now they're at another and the pull is different?
So we do a lot of cross-training in practice and individual. So I don't necessarily think that, I don't want to make the excuse of, guys are in different spots and things like that. It's really come down to, one, an execution thing, as well as just some of the things we're seeing defensively are a bit different than, I guess, what you see during the week game planning.
Justin?
For Dwayne, the dime defense has Chase Kennedy as kind of like a roaming stand-up linebacker, D lineman. What led you to make him as that guy in that role?
Just his athletic ability. But the biggest thing that we got to do on defense right now is just play with more consistency. Do a lot of good things at times and then come back. Much like it. And then when plays present itself, it's to make them. Third play of the game, we punch the ball out. It's on the ground. The ball just needs to bounce right to create momentum, as you saw what happened in the BYU game. When we get a sudden change down there on the goal line, the offense goes down and marches down the field for 99 yards. And that's what, working together, that's what good teams do. It's our job to create momentum for our offense. 6th play of that drive, we have 2 hands on the football. We got to make that play. If you just look at the last 6 quarters, counting the West Virginia game, we've had 7 opportunities. 3 in the second half of the West Virginia game when the offense is doing a great job in the 4th quarter and is on track. We have the ball in our hands for an interception. We have 2 balls that we knock out. 1 turned into a fumble to illegal forward pass. I've never seen that momentum shift, So just plain consistency and some of those plays that present, because I think the offense feeds off of those kinds of plays, and it's proven. BYU game, right? 4th down stop on the first drive, down inside the red zone there, we go 90-plus yards. So we just got to do a great job of being more consistent on the defensive side of the ball. And not to elude your question, but I just want to make sure we understand that is something that we've really stressed on our side of the field. There's no one magical defense, because if there was, we'd all be playing it. Chase has had to become a plug-in because we've lost one of our linebackers. That was a key position. And so, depending on what the offense is presenting to us that week, we're trying to just utilize each individual's tools, I guess, what he can do. But we just need to do a better job of presenting the football back to the office. And what I know about takeaways, they come in bunches. So I'm hoping now this is the game that the ball does bounce right instead of left for us when we punch that thing out.
Last question, Michael.
Josh, you've been with Coach Brennan for a few years now, been through a lot of ups and downs at San Jose State, and you guys are kind of in a bit of a down stretch right now. What does he say? What does he do to help guide a team, through a period like this?
Coach is awesome in helping teams through situations like this. Now, with that being said, we don't like to be in situations like this. But the mindset of just keep pushing forward, just keep swinging. It's like, breaking a massive boulder, right? It's not going to break on the first swing of a sledgehammer, right? But you keep chipping away at that thing, and eventually it will crack and it will break. And that is, the message to our team right now is, we have 3 guaranteed opportunities left, and we're fighting for a 4th. And you have to take it one game at a time, one snap at a time, and just focus on that. That's really, you know, the root of his message is one play at a time.
All right, that's our time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep.